Okay, we are back. All right. So this is number 2. So we've ironed out some of the issues from the first one. Um, Welcome to Trail North Podcast. Uh, with me, John Dowd. I'm a journalist, reporter, outdoorsman, and now podcaster. With me today is Adam Bain. Adam is a bass fishing champion, having fished all over the Southeast. Most of the tournaments he competes in are in Alabama, including the Alabama Bass Trail, ABT Top 100, and local trails along the Coosa River. He also fishes the Bass Team Championship and Ultimate Angler Championship. Adam grew up fishing the Coosa River with his family. In his day job, he works for real estate. He's an agent, developer, and builder. He's gone fishing after smallmouth bass in the Great Lakes and loved doing that. Adam is married and preparing to teach his 8-year-old daughter how to fish as well. Thank you for joining me today, Adam. I really appreciate it.
If I could get my little girl to go, everything you said would be correct.
Yes, that's right. She's a bit young, huh?
She fights me on that. She's all girls. She doesn't like to go hunting or fishing.
Wow. Well, that'll change.
I hope so. She's slowly coming around. I try to tell her she can win a little money if she'll go fishing. That's getting important to her. So.
Oh yeah, dude, I like your spread in the back there. By the way, I was going to mention that earlier.
Thank you.
Yeah, I gotta get some in here when we start doing these.
That was actually my little girl's doing. She back during Christmas, say years ago, back in the fall, she said, "Dad, I want all Santa's reindeer in the living room." I said, I think I can do that for you.
All Santa's reindeer.
So these are 3 of the 5 that remained up in the living room. But yeah, we had all of them there for a little while.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
So my wife deals with a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife is like, no, it's in the garage or in the shed.
Right.
I used to have a pronghorn that was pretty great in the living room, but that was a little short-lived. Yeah. So anyways, let's get into some bass fishing. So I kind of wanted to bring you on to talk about the bass circuit, which you have a lot of experience with. Because we've known each other for a long time, and I don't remember how we met exactly. I know that there was some, I don't know if you'd won something or something, and I did a story on you. And then was it you that contacted the magazine at the time about the mutual friend we've got to go duck hunting?
I think so. I don't remember. Either we had won something local and did a little article. But somehow or another, Buddy Roberts, I think it was, he got us hooked up to go on a duck hunting trip.
Yeah,
with a friend of mine that had some disabilities, and he'd had an accident playing football when we were in high school, and he still enjoys the hunting thing and getting it. It's pretty intense to get him on a duck, but
yeah, it was. Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite. Yeah. My favorite stories I've ever worked on, because he's
paralyzed from the neck down, and
a
little bit of mobility in his arms. And his dad is a big hunter and had him. They have a contraption that goes on his wheelchair that he can kind of tilt up and down and swing side to side, and he has killed a lot of different things over the years, but he decided there for a little while he wanted to kill some ducks. So, that's what we were doing when you came and wrote that article. It was a great article too.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Really captured what he has going on and his perseverance. I think he did a great job with that.
He's quite a guy too. Very intelligent too. I mean, he has like a psychology degree and a couple other things. I mean, his wheelchair is mobile. That thing, 4-wheel drive, get anywhere.
We've had it in swamps and all kinds of different places. It's very impressive. He's an impressive guy.
Very cool. So anyways, so we got linked up through that, and I don't know how you would. I mean, but okay, we would say this, and then somebody would say, "Well, how do you take him hunting?" But how have you ever taken him fishing?
I haven't. I haven't.
How would we
We've
do
talked
that?
about going and well, we've talked about it a couple times, and we've kind of decided that if we ever did that, we would go to one of those to a pond or somewhere where we could kind of wheel around the bank and not get him on the deck of the boat.
Yeah, yeah. That'd probably be more prudent.
Yeah.
Uh, so I guess tell us a little bit about your bass fishing history, how you got into it. I mean, why compete? I mean, that's a lot of work.
It is. It's a full-time job. I don't know. It's just something that my family has always done. My granddad, he loved to fish, loved to tournament fish. He drug me along. I was the little bitty guy that the 6, 7, 8-year-old that was at the tournaments. Tagging along with my dad and my granddad. So
Wow.
that's just that. That's just what we did. On Saturdays we got up and went and fished a tournament somewhere. It might have been at Logan Martin. It's somewhere on the Coosa River, or we venture up to the Tennessee River on occasion, but it was something pretty local. But that was just one of the things that we did on the weekends. We went and fished a tournament. So.
Oh yeah, well, and that's Alabama is well known for some of the best bass fishing.
It is, and there is a tournament here. Like I live here at Logan Martin on the Coosa River, and there is a tournament here 4 or 5 days a week. I mean,
wow.
if you want to fish competitively, you can do it. It may be a 3-hour big fish tournament. It may be a all-nighter, 12 hours, 6 to 6 or something like that, or your typical daylight to 3, 5-fish tournament. But there are all kind of different ways that you can get involved if you want to fish competitively.
Wow. Well, let's talk about we'll jump into some of those tournaments that we had mentioned earlier, and kind of because we had before doing this podcast, we had talked about topics that we would discuss, and one of those was how it's changed over the years.
Right.
You talked, and that was something that you had mentioned, that it's just not quite the same, and the people that are coming in are pretty good.
They're very, very good.
Yeah. How is it generalizing, and then we'll get more specific? How has it changed over the years?
Well, the technology has been the big deal. Years ago you came out with this side scan where as you're idling you can see 60, 80, 100 feet on both sides of your boat and looking for fish and structure too. And then you've got this forward facing sonar that has become so popular in the last 5 or 6 years that, I mean, they call it like video game fishing, but these young guys are good at it. And I don't want to take anything away from them, because they're putting their time in. They get to go a lot. But if I was 17 or 18 again, and all this technology came along when I was that age, I would have jumped on it just like they are. I can't blame them for it. So, I'm a little behind the curve on the forward facing and all this technology, but these young guys are doing they have stepped the game up for sure.
Heck yeah. Well, let's talk about, you just mentioned like the time it takes. How much time do you probably spend, you personally, a week just practicing, I guess?
Well, used to it was a couple days a week. Like I said, I kind of chose, I guess at some point that I was not going, I was never, I guess it came to, I realized I was never going to be a professional, and I was going to stay at home, sleep in my own bed, fish around some of the bigger things that came around locally. We still, if there's a big tournament, I'm going to try to get there by, we just fished a tournament at Wheeler in Decatur, which is about 2 hours away. I got there by lunchtime on Thursday, fished a little bit Thursday afternoon, fish on Friday, and then fish the tournament Saturday. In these Alabama bass trails, you have a partner. So my partner was there all day Thursday and all day Friday. And he's really good. I tell people a lot of times I just run the dip net. I don't have to catch a whole lot. I just, if I can get him around a couple and to add to what he finds, and I can just run the dip net.
Do you have any pictures of that you sent me of the two of you?
Probably. If not, I'll send you another one.
Here we go. Let's jump into some photos. So there's you, a couple fish there.
Yeah, that was recent. There's Chris there on the right.
So this is the two of you here now.
It is. I think we've been fishing together for, I don't know, 15 or 16 years, something like that. It's been a while.
Oh, I just noticed that Kay Donaldson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have interviewed her a couple times. She's a character.
Okay. Yeah, Kay's great.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, she keeps all of us straight. She doesn't let you. She doesn't give you any slack.
That's the truth. Yeah, I can't remember what we'd interviewed about. But anyway, so what does it take to like train? I mean, is it different than, because I think people hear that and they go, "Oh, train? Just going out and fishing whenever you want." Like no, it's more than that, isn't it? I mean, it's work.
The practice leading up to a tournament is pretty important. I mean, there's so many different things that go into that, with, as far as water level and water temperature and time of the year and moon phase, and it gets pretty complicated. We try not to complicate it, as we try to keep things as simple as we can. But it's, there's a lot of things that you want to look at, and some of these lakes that we go to, they're so big, it's hard to kind of break down and find a section of the lake that's doing, the fish are doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
You have a, typically here, well, anywhere, if you have a reservoir, you're going to have below the upper dam, you're going to have a little section of river. And then there's kind of a midsection somewhere where it flattens out, and you got some river channel and some really flat area. And then closer to the lower end, where there's to the next dam, it's more lakey.
Okay.
And, where it's a little deeper and some humps and things like that. Just in general, most lakes set up that way. So you just kind of have to figure out which section of the lake that whatever's going on is what you want to be doing.
Now, do you have, when you run a tournament, are you limited geographically on where you can go, or are you just unleashed upon the lake? You can go anywhere, or how does that work?
So most of the time you can go anywhere that is navigable by, as long as you can get there, don't have to take out or lock through. There's a couple tournaments that will let you lock, like on the Tennessee River. You could lock through to another lake at different times, but a lot of the ones that we fish do confine you to this state with Miss K and the Alabama Bass Trail. If you're going to go to, say, Pickwick, which is in Florence, Alabama, well, you can't lock through to Kentucky Lake, or you can't lock through to Wilson, but there's still, you can fish in Alabama, Mississippi, and Tennessee. That particular lake kind of encompasses all three states. So,
gotcha.
They do put some parameters on where you can go, but normally, if you can get there by boat, then you can get there. Then you can fish there.
Sure. Okay. So for somebody who doesn't know anything about like bass fishing tournaments, or kind of what they look like, how does it work? What are you trying to do? The most fish, the biggest fish, or the different categories? Lay that out a little bit.
So there's a couple different formats nowadays. They're at this local level where we fish, and most of your tournaments, and historically the way that they've always been, is you get to weigh in your 5 biggest fish.
Okay.
So whichever 5 biggest ones you catch that day, weight wise, you can weigh those in. There's the MLF, the Major League Fishing. they have a couple of the professional trails where they do every fish counts, or they may have has to have a 1 pound minimum or something like that. But they will weigh every one. And there's been some controversy about that. And, anytime something changes, you're going to have some people have some growing pains. And,
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
But so there are some formats where every fish counts, but the majority of everything that we fish is still your 5 biggest.
Gotcha.
Do they and then there'll be a little side pot for whoever has the 1 biggest fish.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So do they check your equipment before you get out there? Like, is there with wrestling and contact sports, there's a weigh-in ahead of time and a weigh-in on the day of. Is that there's a similar thing?
They do. You go through a boat check, and they check your live wells, make sure you didn't bring any with you. And look, we laugh about it, but it happes.
Yeah, of course.
Look, if there's money involved and any kind of somebody's going to try to cheat. So they will check your live wells, make sure you don't have any fish in there, and then at the end they give you whoever wins, they give a polygraph. Most of the time.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, especially in these bigger tournaments, they'll give you a polygraph and they'll go through, and some of their questions are pretty intense.
What are they asking? Sounds like CIA.
They want to ask if you've ever cheated for financial gain, if you've ever lied to anybody you loved.
Wow.
Yes,
they're not playing around.
Pretty difficult questions to answer. Some of the best ones, those are the 3 questions they ask: is have you ever cheated for financial gain? Have you ever lied to anybody you love? And did you cheat in this bass tournament?
Heck yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. Normally the answer is yes, and no.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
God, man.
You ever cheated in a sporting event? That kind of brings up. Look. We could do a whole another podcast on polygraphs. Like,
yeah.
Have you ever cheated in a sporting event? Well, different people interpret that different ways. If me and you were playing a pickup basketball game in the backyard, and I call a foul on you, that maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Is that cheating?
Right. That's right.
So that, or obviously little poker games and different things.
So how about we lost a little bit there. Hold on.
Yeah.
All right,
I got you back.
You can keep going if you're on still.
Yeah.
I'd asked about equipment. So I'm a fly fisherman, right?
Okay. So we have.
So do they allow fly fishing, or is it?
No. So I mean, I guess you could. So your rods you can only fish with 1 rod at a time. You can. Your rod can only be 8 feet long. It can't be any longer than 8 feet, handle and all. And that's pretty much it. Long as it's less than 8 feet and you only use 1 at a time, that's pretty much the equipment. Unless we get it. So the technology that has come along. So there's all kind of things going on. There's transducers, different saltwater transducers, freshwater transducers, the forward facing stuff. You've got some things we call crappie brakes, which is, I'm going to assume that most people that are listening to this have some idea about fishing where you see the power poles that are on the back of the boat that go down, the shallow water anchors.
Yeah.
All right. So they have an attachment to those that have a trolling motor on the bottom. So even if you're if you're in 8 feet or more where your power poles wouldn't touch, you can let these power poles down and have 2 trolling motors on the back to kind of shuffle the back of your boat around and keep you in position. So, that some of the tournaments we fish, that they'll have some regulation on. You can only have 1 forward facing sonar. because a lot of people mount the forward facings on the back of the boat to shoot out either direction to kind of improve to make their side scan in real time. And the crappie breaks, and there, like I said, there's just there is a big controversy and a little push and pull in the fishing community about what the technology is doing to fishing.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
yeah, because they used to be, they didn't. I mean, people didn't have anything. You had to just really know the water and everything.
right?
Is there like a movement of people to get back to that kind of fishing?
A very large movement. I mean, I'm going to say it's 50-50.
Hmm.
You know,
Wow.
there's some of the old timers that hey, this is what we've always done. This is the way we want to keep doing it, and we've always known that we're fishing for a small percentage of the fish around the bank.
Mhm.
Like, you know, the old adage, like if you're on the bank and you got a jig and a cork and you're crappie fishing off the dock or off the bank, you try to throw as far out in the lake as you can throw. Well, when you're in the boat, you try to flip under the dock or you want to flip on the grass on the bank. You know,
That's right. Yeah.
it's kind of an oxymoron that if you're
Wow.
on the bank, you want to fish in the middle, and if you're in the middle, you want to fish on the bank. But what this forward facing has taught all of us is that the majority of the fish are a little nomadic or pelagic,
Okay.
and they live in the middle.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of it's impressive to go to a tournament on a lake that they're in the middle and see all the people literally just in the middle of the river channel. It's eye opening.
Yeah. I mean, are they biting at that point? I mean, the fish might be there, but are they active when they're at
that
that space or?
they are they're they may be it may be over 50 or 60 feet of water and they may be 10 feet deep under the water, but you can see them and you can throw your bait out there and keep it right above them or right there at them, and it's impressive what these young guys are doing.
Wow, crazy.
And I say young guys. There's some older guys that are doing it too, but
Sure.
these young guys have a leg up on how I got to be the old guy at the tournament. I don't know, but I just woke up one day and I was the old guy.
Right, man. Yeah, it's crazy because with fly fishing, you're limited to mostly topwater, right? We've got, there's sinking lures and, you can go up to, I mean, you can do it here too, but there's big fish you can go after in pretty deep rivers, in Alaska, up in British Columbia. It's pretty popular to do, to use.
Like a weighted leader. And
yeah, they use weighted leaders, sinking line, really, really big streamers and stuff. And I mean, they're pulling monsters out. But most of like my experience with bass has been, obviously I mean, I've done regular fishing and everything else, but with fly fishing, it's poppers and mice and frogs and things like that, and I love it. I think it's just a blast. They're monsters. They'll eat everything.
Yeah. And look, even in the tournament world, I mean that's you're throwing some kind of frog, rat, top water deal that at least you're trying to entice a little bigger bite, a little bigger fish. So
and I should have I'm thinking about it now. I should have pulled up. I need to make a folder of pictures for me to reference and talk about. I got this fishing story that's kind of funny. I was working at this fly fishing shop in Craig, Montana, and we would go out in the full moon for brown trout right in the fall, and they were just ravenous at that point. The water's cooled down to where they're really active and out, and all the field mice are swimming because there's nothing but cornfield or wheat field and everything out there. So there's and cattle, so obviously lots of barn mice and stuff are swimming across the river. And so we'd go out full moon when the mice are gone, and we tied these huge mice patterns. I mean, I'm gonna do a Google here, because I think some of these people, they don't realize how big they are. And you have like a 30-inch trout hitting like a 5 or 6 inch rat. that you've tied up.
Look,
And the moon would be up there and we'd throw out and we can't see anything. So we're throwing and just waiting, hear a splash, everybody, whoa. And somebody might have you're ducking, everybody's ducking because half the flyers are coming at you, but somebody might have a whopper on. So but that's crazy.
That's one of the things that the forward facing sonar has taught all of us is that they, big fish like big baits.
Yeah.
We kind of laugh about it all the time that we say that, a bass they've never seen themselves in a mirror. Like they don't know how big they are. They may be 12, 14 inches long and they may eat a 10 or 12 inch bait. It'll be as big as they are. And it's like they don't understand how big they are, what they can and can't eat.
Right. Here we go. I'm looking for like an actual one of these big mice that we would throw, but let's try Alaskan. I know they go to Kamchatka over in Russia, and they'll throw these mice that are just unreal.
Look, there's a little cult following on the mice for bass that there's like a rat bait that a jointed little swim bait. It's got a little bill on it, just kind of wakes across the top of the surface. And it may be 6 or 8 inches long.
Jeez, like this guy here, you can tell he's been tied up with looks like a bunch of mouse or a bunch of squirrel hair, and he's got that's a squirrel tail hackle there. That guy's huge. It's hard to tell in the picture, but that's huge. We threw a lot of these the Moorish mice, which are these guys right here. They're pretty nice. They kind of sit on top of the. I've fished a lot of bass in Alabama with those Moorish mice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's same premise, same idea we have. You just little different tackle that you go about it with, but it's the same idea as throwing a frog across the top of the grass, or you're working along the edge of the grass kind of thing, buzz bait or something like that. So.
Oh yeah, well let's get into some lures.
All right.
While we're talking about it, so I'm going to pull up some more pictures that you sent here. Let's go back a couple here. What's going on in that picture?
So that's the ultimate angler. That we're at the weigh-in. That's where they have a little bump sink. You bring your fish in a bag out of the boat. You dump them in the little sink, and they take them and put them in a mesh bag. And then there's some cattle troughs full of water. Just this side of the bump sink, and that way you can keep the fish in the water at all times. Sure. So they'll put them in a mesh bag and kind of go from tank to tank as you're standing in line. So,
that brings up a question before we get into the lures and stuff. That was a question I had about how stuff has changed over the years. Is it, because I know up here, I mean, with trout fishermen, they are purists. They want to keep the fish alive, catch and release type thing. Has that gotten into bass fishing as well, like trying to keep the fish healthy?
It's a huge ordeal.
Okay.
They have to fill out, a lot of these tournaments fill out a bait report. And I don't know what it's BAIT. I don't know what the acronym is. But it is how many fish were weighed in, how many were weighed in alive, how many were brought deceased, how many were released alive.
Wow.
Every tournament has to fill out one of these, and there for a little while they were having to submit them to the state. I'm not sure that it's mandatory now, but it's still they appreciate it. But yes, the fish care is a huge deal. We've kind of gone round and round, especially here on the Coosa River. Everything in nature cycles. So a couple of the lakes on the Coosa River have kind of been in a downward cycle, Logan Martin being one of them for the last few years. And you see there on my shirt, the folks at Sylacauga Marine.
Yeah.
They're the ringleader of this deal. They've got a nonprofit set up, this Restock Alabama, and they take a percentage every entry fee. It's like $10 every entry fee for their tournaments. They've got America's First Credit Union that they finance a lot of our boats, and they have a little contingency program where we can win some money back.
Okay.
It's that becomes a big deal. They're putting a lot of money forward, and then a lot of the municipalities up and down the Coosa River are putting some money in it. We're actually stocking one day next week, May the 20th. I think we're going to stock Logan Martin.
Huh.
I've got to go, and they asked me to come and turn some loose, but we'll take. Last year we took about 20 or 30,000 little fingerling bass,
Wow.
and just restocked Logan Martin.
Now, do they dock points if you bring a dead or injured fish?
They do, and each one is different. But let's stay with Miss K, since we both know Miss K. They will. You can't cull a dead fish. So if you have 5 in your live well and one of them dies, you have to weigh it in. It's a 1 pound penalty, and you can only weigh in 1. So if for some reason you have 5 and something happens and 2 fish die, then you can only weigh 1 of those in.
Wow.
And when you weigh it in, you have a 1 pound penalty. So that has cost people at different times. So fish care, we take that very serious. We carry hypodermic needles and things so we can fizz them.
What's that?
So you can you just take a 22, 24 gauge needle, a pretty big size needle, and you go back from their dorsal fin or from their pectoral fin a little bit, poke it into their swim bladder, and then push them down under the water, and it deflates their swim bladder. So if you catch a fish really deep, kind of like when you're deep sea fishing, if you catch a fish really deep, catch a red snapper or a grouper or something really deep, and it kind of throws its stomach up, or you've got something protruding out of its mouth when you get it up there. The same thing happens with bass. If they're 10, 15, 20 feet or deeper, and you bring them up really fast, their swim bladder gets inflated, and they can't regulate that. So you take that needle and go in and deflate their swim bladder. Or there's some clips you can clip on their bottom fins with weights to kind of level them out. But yeah, it gets a little scientific.
Wow. Yeah, I had no idea that was part of it. Where's that picture taken? We were looking. I'll pull it back up again. That's in Logan Martin, isn't it? Or is that?
So that's at Gunnersville. So
Gunnersville.
So that is from the that Ultimate Angler. And like I said, the state of Alabama put a bunch of money up. I think they had $1 million or 1.2 in prize money that they gave out.
Wow.
You had to qualify for it. There was very select. There's about 200 people got to fish it. 180, 200. I think that 200 was the idea, but might have been a little shy of that last year. That last year being the first year. But first place was $500,000. Second was 100 and something. Third was 80. All the way down 20. 10th was 25,000. I mean, it's a big deal. And most of the ways that you had to make that. So, fishing is just like anything else. People have split off. So you had bass, the BASS, or the Bass Angler Sportsman Society was the name of it. That they were the group for years, and then you had FLW kind of split off of them. So you've got 2 groups and FLW has changed to MLF, but you have Major League Fishing and Bass. Those are the 2, big guys in the fishing world. Well, to get in the Ultimate Angler, you had to finish in the top. You had to win one of the professional tours, or finish in the top 15 or 20 in the points. That it was kind of catered to the professionals, and then they had a handful of ways that us amateurs could make it. So we and there again, let's call it 200. I think it was a little shy of that last year. I think this coming year will be 200 or more. Everybody fished the first 2 days. It was a 3-day tournament. Everybody fished the first 2 days, and then they cut to the top 50 for the third day. And then the like I say, whoever had the most accumulated weight. But that I think it's the largest payout that's ever been. It's bigger than the Bassmaster Classic, bigger than the Forest Wood Cup. Tucker Smith won. He's a guy. He's a Birmingham guy. Lives at Gunnersville now. Fishes on the Elite Series. Good young man. I've met him a handful of times. I know his girlfriend's dad pretty well.
Oh, wow.
He thinks a lot about him. So obviously, if he thinks a lot about him, then I do too.
That's a good sign. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Wow. So, and Gunnersville is known for bass fishing pretty well too.
It is. I mean, it's world renowned. It's one of the year after year, one of the top 10 lakes in the country, if not higher. It's amazing that the pressure that lake gets, and it just keeps producing. I mean, it's mind boggling how it can stand the pressure that it gets.
I've always wondered, because they have bass fishing and fishing in the South, like competition fishing. It's way bigger down there than it is out west.
Yeah. Yes.
And a lot of that, I wonder if that's, because trout in particular, they're super, they don't take change really well. They're really sensitive to temperature, their environment, very sensitive to the environment. So they couldn't handle that kind of pressure, but it seems like warm water fish, they take that a lot easier.
They get educated.
Yeah.
Things that worked last year don't work this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of fun
way, though. Yeah,
it is. I mean, and we get stuck. I mean, we're kind of old school guys. I mean, even though, I guess we're middle-aged for a tournament fisherman, but Chris and I both, the guy that I fish with, I mean, we grew up kind of fishing old school ways, and we get stuck on that a little bit. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But we try to be good at what we do.
Yeah.
And but when a schedule comes out, I'll say this: when a schedule like a Alabama Bass Trail, and I don't want to compare that to an Elite Series schedule like a Bassmasters Elite, but if we fish 5 tournaments around the state of Alabama in a given year, you're not going to have a legitimate chance to win all 5 of those. If you have a chance to win one, a really good, you've had a good practice, you know what to do, you know where to go, you're around the caliber of fish to win. If that happens 2 out of 5 times, you're lucky.
Wow.
Do
you are you sponsored? Like, do you make your money back? Because you've got to spend a lot of money on travel.
We spend a lot of money. Most years we break even or make a little. The state has audited us a couple of times.
Really?
Yeah. Because they don't seem to they seem to think this is a hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. You may have 1099s for $100,000. It's hard to claim that as a hobby if you've won that much. If you've won $100,000, it's hard to claim that as a hobby. But yeah, they don't like you writing off expenses.
These guys can't be making money fishing now.
Yeah, there's fishing on the weekend. But and I will say that, or I will say this, even at the local level, these tournaments have gotten so lucrative that, I mean, it's really mind blowing. I mean, one of these Alabama bass trails, I mean, it pays $15,000 to win first place, and then I don't even know what I'm gonna sound crazy, but I don't even know what the entry fees are. I don't know if they were 15 or 1,800, but I know next year they're $2,000 for 5 tournaments. So you're $400 a piece. But first place is going up to 20,000, and second's 10, third's 7,500. They pay out really well. They pay out all of the money that they take in. The communities put up a little money, whatever municipality they're coming to, that they're willing to pay to get the people to come in and spend the night and eat dinner and buy gas and tackle and things.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say this got to be awesome for the economy in these.
It's great. They say, I don't know, the economists say that money turns over 3 times. So whatever gets spent turns over 3 times is what I've always heard. So you may have 225 boats and 450 people, and they come in, everybody spends a couple $100 a piece. I mean, by the time that turns over 2 or 3 times, it makes a difference in the community.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, that influx, that's got to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that fishing is huge business in Montana. I mean, like with all the fly shops and everything else. But the shop I worked at, it's kind of different. You get a lot of layperson fishing, which is the majority of numbers, but the majority of money comes from the big wigs and people. I worked at that shop in Craig, and we had this guy come in. He was a lawyer out of Texas, and every year he would bring his top 10 or 10 clients, and he'd outfit them like $10,000 each in equipment, right? So, and that's like top of the line waders, a whole box of flies, all the extra equipment, their boots, their new rod, which on its own probably cost a couple $1,000s. Right. And then on top of that, the reel and the line and getting it all set up and everything. I mean, just crazy. And then their lodging and everything. And then every day they would come in, like they would rent out a whole lodge just for them. The guy owned the lodge. And they had a private guide that was a buddy of his, that they were a business partner for the guy's guiding service. And he would go out and guide them every day. They'd come into the shop and spend $1,000 each a piece every day. Yeah. I mean, just like massive amounts of money over the course of like a week.
Yeah.
Insane.
Well, and that may be a little different because you got there's some corporate aspect to that. Yeah. Where they're on a trip where I was on the Chamber of Commerce. I was the vice president of the Chamber of Commerce here in Pell City for a couple of years, and these tournaments come in and ask for money. You have to understand that fishermen we're all pretty tight, and we're going to fish close to home, so we might not spend the night. We might, but some of these trails like the Alabama Bass Trail, you have to sign up for all of them at one time. Wow. And it takes, there's 225 places. Next year, you're going to have to spend $2,000, and they will sell out all 225 places in 4 or 5 minutes.
Wow.
I mean, it's impressive.
You got to be on there then.
Yes. Wow. So they'll give you a little priority registration if you fished the year before. They'll give you a week or so to sign up, but if there's 50 places left, 75 places left, they're going to get taken in the first 5 minutes.
Now, is that online on the website? So as soon as they open people, so like somebody who's new who wants to get in it, you get on their website, they're opening.
Yeah. Luckily, we have fished them since day one. So I've never, after the first year, we've never had to do that. And I don't know if it's a midnight thing or if it's a 6 a.m. thing or what. I think they open it at 6. But yeah, if you don't have your your information typed in and just ready to hit send at 6, you're probably not getting in.
Wow.
It's impressive. I say Kay I'll brag on Kay, and I like Kay, and I think she's done a great job. But her staff too. Listen, they run as good of a fishing tournament as there's ever been, and she rubs some people the wrong way. But how are you going to deal with 450 people in one division, and then 450? You got 900 people in 2 divisions. You're not going to make everybody happy.
No.
So
no.
I think she's done a great job, and her staff, they work hard, and they run a great trail.
Heck yeah.
Like I say that you got that, and then the ultimate angler, just the payout with that thing. I mean, that thing's incredible for somebody like me to be able to go and fish for $500,000, you know, and fish against all the pros, because you always wonder, the money's great, but you always wonder if you're good enough to fish, professionally and that thing, all that stuff. So to get to go and fish against those guys and just kind of see how you stack up, I mean, that's a big deal for us amateurs.
Oh yeah, no, that's super cool. I mean, is it like, do you feel like you're in deep water a lot of the time? I mean, do you feel like these guys are at a whole different league, or do you come close?
Not really. I mean, I don't let that stuff bother me. I mean, it's just another day of fishing, and if I catch some, great, and if I don't, then that's okay too. Chris and I both. I mean, we both qualified last year, and we both made the top 50 cut, and got to fish the next, the third day. That was kind of our goal. I think like 25 through 50th all paid $5,000. So it wasn't like if you finished 25th, you got the same money as you made by fishing the third day, just by finishing 50th. So, we were both kind of in the top 20 going into the last day, and we both swung for the fence, and neither one of us, we lost some. Different things happen, just like it does to everybody. I think we finished in the 30s, but you figure if both of you finish in the 30s and against that group of guys, and that's pretty good. Looking forward to it. We lucky enough to qualify for it again this year. Looking forward to doing it again. Maybe set our sights a little higher this time.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into. I know we kind of put it off, but let's go ahead and jump into the lures and kind of just the how-to and the nitty-gritty about the stuff. There we are again. Where's that one?
Those are Gunnersville too.
That's in Gunnersville. Gotcha. Here we go.
All right.
So what are we looking at here? Because these are ones you sent. I asked you like different lures that you'd recommend or that we might talk about.
Right. So here on the left there, you've just got a jig with a chunk on it. Back in the day, we actually used pork, have a pork rind chunk, but everything's plastic now. So a jig is just an all-around versatile tool. I mean, you can fish it. It doesn't matter if it's 6 inches deep or 30 feet. I mean, you could throw that in a brush pile. You can throw it at a stump. You can flip it in the grass. Obviously you'd vary the weight, somewhere from a quarter to a 1 ounce or 3/4, whatever, just depending on how you want the rate of fall and everything else. But that's just kind of what I sent that picture of. That's just kind of a standard flipping, just you can flip a dock, you can flip a stump, you can flip a tree, whatever. On the right, you've got that's actually a Reaction Innovation Spicy Beaver is the name of it.
Spicy Beaver. It totally does the crawfish thing.
It does. It's got the bluegill appearance, colors. And the colors vary. If the water's muddy, you might want to flip something like black and blue. If it's really clear, you go something like this, or some kind of green pumpkin, kind of like the chunk is on the jig. But you just kind of Texas rig that thing, put a little, have have a hook and just a little free, either peg a weight on the front or have it running up and down your line. And you, like I said, you can flip that around dock. You can flip it in the grass. You can flip a tree. You can throw it out deep. Whatever you needed to. Those two, those are two of the most versatile lures that you're going to come across.
Heck yeah. So we'll wait. There's somebody asked that when we get to the question section. We're about halfway, I'd say. So we'll stick on this for a little while, and then we'll take the last 20 minutes or so to do questions.
Okay.
Because I only have a few of them, and I do that on purpose because then we can dive deep into the questions, and a couple of these are pretty good ones.
Good.
So we're gonna move on here. We got a couple here. Oh, there's a frog.
There you go. That's a little closer to what you're thinking.
Oh yeah.
There again, that can vary in color. With black, white, brim, some kind of perch color. That's a little more versatile now. I think it's looked at now to be a little more versatile than it was back in the day. Used to, when I was growing up, you had to throw that in some kind of milfoil, hydrilla, scum. I was going to say, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people now throw that around, like on the Coosa River, you throw that around water willow. Just throw it under, like even like, you lived here for a little while. You have Lake Martin, Smith Lake, that are just really clear, kind of Highland Reservoir lakes. You throw it under docks. There's just so many. Dean Rojas kind of opened that up that you didn't have to necessarily be around grass to throw something like that. Yeah, it reminds me of fishing that kind of stuff in clear water. For bass, it reminds me a lot of doing pike fishing on a fly. Yeah, because super clear water, super. I mean, you have to have steel leaders and stuff, but they, they're coming up from deep. From way deep in some cases, straight up, bam, in that sucker. Yeah. This is all that deal is good around any kind of vegetation. I mean, it's whether it's matted or like I say, it's maybe up shallow around some stalky kind of water willow. We call it Coosa River grass or Lake grass. Anything like that is it's pretty good, especially in the spring. They're garden fry. Maybe the shad are spawning. You want to throw a white one. You want to take some shad spawning up there. And then just below that, that's a buzz buddy. I mean, it's got a little frog kind of kicker deal. I think that one's like a War Eagle brand. You could stick about whatever you want to as far as plastic. You could put one of those little spicy beavers on there, like was in the flipping bait. Yeah, you put something like that on there. That's the beauty of something like that. You can change you can have a copper blade, you can have a silver blade, you can have a black blade, you can put a white trailer on there, a black trailer, a perch colored trailer. Traditionally, there was just a skirt, like a silicone skirt, kind of like the legs on that frog are made out of. You kind of stick whatever you want to on the back and just experiment with that and see what the fish want that particular day. Oh yeah. Well, we didn't mention this too for people who it may not be obvious to. This guy up here, that frog, he's kind of got a natural weed guard because it looks like he's just got the two hooks on top. That's right. He's going to boat on top of that stuff. It's hollow. Yeah. So when a fish blows up on that, obviously sitting on the surface, when a fish blows up, sometimes it's kind of tough. You need to give him a second or two. Let him get it in his mouth. Let him swim off with it. He's not going to turn it loose most of the time. So, but yeah, it's very weedless, but the bait actually collapses. So, gotcha. So he gets a little cushion to it. Yep. So that plastic is hollow, and there's actually a pinhole in the bottom, and every few casts, you actually have to take that thing and squeeze it because it'll
Squeeze
fill
it
up
out.
with water. You squeeze it out, squeeze the water out of it.
Now, are you popping? When you throw that guy, will you pop it and have it sit there, take a break, and then pull it and
You
whip it
will,
around like a frog would?
yeah. So it will actually walk the dog kind of side to side. If you give it a little slack, it'll go side to side, kind of like a spook or some other topwater bait.
Okay.
But a lot of the popular ones have a little popper spitting front, so they make a bowl or a bubble, call it popping frog.
Mm-hmm.
Those are real popular too. But yeah, it's one of the two. You either want it to kind of pop or give a bull like a popper or a popper that y'all would throw fly fishing, or you want that little side to side walk the dog kind of action.
Sure. Now the one below it here, that seems more like a mid, or you could probably weigh that down and go pretty deep with it.
No, it's a surface bait.
Really? Because you're getting flash from it.
Yeah. So that blade there on the top, it gurgles and throws kind of a bubble trail.
Wow.
And that's one of the reasons that you want your bait to sit lower than the blade. A lot of guys will give a little bend in that like kind of straight section of wire where it comes out of the head of the bait, just to set the bait a little bit lower.
So it's upside down. It's
yes, the worm
is floating.
I apologize about that. Yeah,
no worries.
It should be flipped the other way, and the blade comes across top of the water. The bait hangs just below the water.
Aha.
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
That's my fault.
No, it's not. No, it's perfect here. And I got to ask questions too, just to make sure that like somebody who's listening that may not, know a whole lot about things, and so sometimes we got to get.
Well, and like I said, I love the question kind of the question section that you've got coming up, because there's so much about bass fishing that's just hit or miss, or hey, this works one day and this works the next day, and it may work today and it may never work again. You may never actually see that particular situation, and there's so many people that may be novice to, they may be a lot better fishermen than I am that are listening to this. We try to kind of cover all bases.
Yeah, that's kind of the goal of this podcast for me in particular, is to kind of meet everybody where they are and have something everybody can get something out of.
Right.
Because there's so much. It's
an evolving process. I mean, every day you go. I went this morning. I learned 2 or 3 things this morning that I didn't know.
Yeah, and another thing too is even when you get to like expert level in a lot of this stuff, I mean, you might have skipped over something that for somebody else was fundamental, right?
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Something that seems fundamental to us may be over somebody's head, or vice versa. I mean, we may be talking below everybody.
Maybe.
But like I said, it evolves so much, especially with all the technology and the different baits and different things. And I mean, like I said, everything that the 4 baits that we've shown so far have been so just traditional, tried and true buzz bait, frog, jig, some type of plastic, and we're about to get into some different stuff.
Oh yeah. Now, just kind of an off question. In those tournaments, are you allowed to fish live bait or anything like that? It has to be plastic.
Yeah, no live bait. Everything's got to be artificial.
Gotcha.
It can be homemade.
Oh, really? Well, of course, yeah. You have to get it checked, I'm sure.
A lot of the things we fish with, we make at home.
Huh.
Somebody made this in their basement.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's like all the fly fishing patterns. I mean, they're all just, some of them are like tried and true, been around for years, but like somebody just tied some feathers to a hook and threw it out there, see if it'd work.
So I'll give you a little secret, and anybody that's ever fished at night. So the that they'll understand what I'm about to say. There was years ago, and I haven't been fishing at night for bass in I don't know how long, 10 years. But when I was a kid, like that's what you did was in the summertime. The boat traffic was bad around here, so you just went at night and you threw a spinner bait with a single Colorado blade, and it was black and blue, some kind of red and white, chartreuse and white, or some kind of brown and chartreuse. You had back then you only had a silver blade or a gold blade, and then later on a black blade came along. But the best spinner baits that we've ever made, because we used to make every one we fished with, you would just take like bits and pieces of material that you had left over. You had 3 strands of black and 4 strands of gold and 5 strands of brown, and you just piece those things together, and you could never make the same one twice, but they always worked. So I don't know if color even makes any difference.
I know, that is so funny. I when I was living down there, we lived on this little pond, and everybody swear by blue. Like, had to throw the bluest worm ever. I don't know if it mattered.
That's exactly right.
I mean, I think it's what in the fly fishing industry they say you're making the fly for the fisherman. You're trying to catch the fisherman.
Catch the fisherman. That's right. That's the same here. Same here.
God, that's funny. All right, here we go. We're gonna pull that guy back up.
Yeah, let's go back to this. This is the most popular bait right now.
Which one? The top one or the bottom one?
The top one.
Really? This one?
Yep. The bottom one probably in the last couple of years, but and it's hard to see. Let's talk about the bottom one.
Okay.
So the bottom one, you can just maybe a eighth of the way down from right to left. There's you can see. No, other way.
Other way. From right to left. Here we go. Okay.
Right.
I'm going to zoom in here a little bit because you're talking about specific elements of this guy.
Yes. So run your hand right there, right, just above where you're thinking, right there. There's wings.
I see them. Yeah.
They call it. So there's ridges right there, and that makes that thing roll back and forth as you're winding it.
Yeah.
And it just rolls back and forth, and that's an enticing action for fish. So and pressured fish especially. So you put that thing on a jig head, you throw it out there. You see one on the forward. Both of these are we would have thought were all about forward facing sonar. See a fish, see a group of fish, throw it out there, work it over them. They come up and bite it. Like I said, that the one on the bottom is called a Sakamata shad. It's a Japanese bait. They're kind of hard to get a hold of in the United States. Stores get a shipment of them. They sell out in just a day or two.
Is there color preference on those guys?
Just anything looks like a shad.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there is. But,
yeah.
But every person you talk to is going to have a different opinion. So,
sure.
I'll just say something that looks like a shad is better than I got a bunch of them like just pearl white. I've never caught one on. I don't know what the deal is.
So you're putting the hook in from here and coming out through the belly or something, or
yeah. So you'd use just a kind of like a standard jig head.
I'll pull one out. I'll zoom in on you there.
I still got all of it right here. So you just kind of feed your jig head through. You want it to be straight. Want everything kind of But there, with those wings on the side, as you're winding that thing, it just rolls back and forth.
Heck yeah, I got it.
So I think that there's all kind of things that come in, like the length of your leader, So the thing, something like this is very popular with a spinning rod, where normally y'all would use your main line, and then you have your leader. We'll use a braided line on a spinning rod, and then tie whatever leader we want to that. So, it may be 3 feet long, and it may be 10 feet long, and it may be 10-pound test, and maybe 12, 14, 18, 20-pound test. So it all of that affects the action of the bait. So,
Oh yeah.
That comes in, the colder the water, the less action you want. But enough about that. The right above that.
Yeah. The one that looks like a sea urchin or something.
That's it. That is the name of one of the brands.
Really?
Is the sea urchin. They call it a corky, cokie ball, fuzzy dice. I mean,
Nice.
you name it, and it's been called it. So, but it is, that this is right now. This is the hottest bait that there is.
How do you fish that? How?
Well, nobody really knows. Nobody, and those that do know don't want to say.
Yeah, of course not.
So, what I've gathered, and this is what I went to Lay Lake today, this morning. My dad has a tournament down there, we call it the old man tournament. It's like you got to be 60 and over. They fish on Thursdays. All the retired guys get together. So he and he hadn't been down there in a year or two. And I went in March, something like that. So he and I went down there this morning and fished around. And I solely went to catch one on this. We caught a few. I don't know. Look, people use what they call a Tokyo rig, which is like a big flipping hook with a little wire that goes down. You can clip some weight on. People like stick I've been playing with one right here. Like you just stick a little like drop shot weight. You can
Pull it out there.
I mean, you can take something. Well, I can't even hold it. So something like that, and just stick inside it. You can hook it with a treble hook. That way, you got a couple hooks out exposed. You can put kind of a flipping hook in there, like a Nico rig hook. You can put a drop like that. There's a million ways to rig it, and nobody knows the best way because it's so new. Wow. But as we're sitting here talking, they're weighing in the Bassmasters Elite Series are weighing in at Santee Cooper, and probably 6 or 7 out of the top 10. This is what they're throwing.
Wow.
And I don't know how they got it rigged. They're being real secretive about it. So,
I'm like looking at how you're going to get the hook through that, where you're going to have it exposed. Now that doesn't float; that sinks.
So this floats. So it's made out of an elastic material. Hold on, I got one right here.
I was going to see, because that Japanese one you showed just a second ago, it was a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Right. So it's
like a kid's toy.
Yeah, I've got some memes. I got some memes that say like what's the deal going around? Like, hey mom, what were you like in the 90s? Have you seen that? And it plays the music, and it said, well, what was fishing like in 2026? It's like we use cat toys. I mean, like it's elastic. I mean, you can't tear it up. I mean, it's a fuzzy dice. I don't know.
It's so crazy.
I can count on one hand the ones I've caught on it. So,
wow.
Maybe not now. I caught a few on it today. But
how were you fishing it? Were you weighing it down? Were you putting it on the surface? What were you doing?
Yeah. So I took like some kind of little kind of a drop shot weight, and I shoved it inside it. Let's see. Sure, I can't get it to go inside it real easy while we're on.
Of course,
because it is kind of tough to get it in there. But let's just say we're gonna shove that inside. Well, I'll put it farther than that, and then I don't have one right here, but let's just say you would take a hook, maybe not a jig head, but just a hook, and just kind of skin hook it where your hook's exposed. Yeah, something like that.
wow.
Or most folks are taking a treble hook and hooking one hook in and having two exposed.
Okay.
I don't have a treble hook laying right here on the table, but I don't know. Like your guess is as good as mine.
That's crazy.
If you can find a better way to do it, then rebuild the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it seems like that's what a lot of like design for lures is just like trying to perfect the perfect thing.
It is, and things cycle around. I mean, things kind of lose luster, and then years later they come back, and maybe they're the same, maybe they tweak them a little bit, but like I say, everything seems to cycle around.
Sure.
So,
all right, let's jump to we got a few more coming up. All right, got some classics there.
Yeah. So this kind of like right now, that May, June, fish start getting offshore, depending on where you are in the country and what all's going on. The top is a Strike King 5XD. I mean, they make a 5, a 6, a 8 to run different depths, just depending on where you are or where the fish are. But you got like a straight tail worm. I mean, that's like a Zoom Magnum finesse worm. Look, there's been as much money won and as many fish caught on a plastic worm over the course of time than any other bait that's ever been. Like there's a million ways to rig it. You can hook it in the, you can Texas rig it, you can Carolina rig it, you can Tokyo rig it. There's probably some rig that I don't know about. You can wacky rig it, hook it in the middle. You can hook it in the middle and then put a nail weight in the end. They call it a Nico rig. Like there, you name it, but regardless, it looks like a worm.
Yeah.
And then there again, we got the same like jig and pig and jig or whatever you want to call that at the bottom. That it's just so versatile. Like I say, it doesn't matter if it's 3 feet deep or if it's 30 feet deep. You can throw that and get a bite. You can swim it through the grass or around a dock or flip it by a stump or throw it out and kind of cast it offshore.
Now, do you have a ritual as far as like color for your worm? You seem to have a lot of preference for like the pumpkin colors for a lot of
you just can't go wrong with some kind of green pumpkin. I mean, it imitates so many different things, and like I've gone and caught crawfish in the river, and they're as much green pumpkin as they are anything. It obviously at different times, but that's just a kind of it looks like a crawfish, looks like a perch, looks like a brim, some kind of bluegill. Like it imitates so many different things. It's like I said, we keep things kind of simple. Like
those worms, they're hard to beat, man. I've run a lot of those black because they're like a leech.
Yeah.
And then in fly fishing, the equivalent is the woolly bugger, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of people run those, and it looks like a worm. It looks like a crawfish. It looks like a leech.
You go if you go up north in those gin clear, like you go to the Great Lakes, we kind of talked earlier about going up there smallmouth fishing. You take a black hair jig and you just throw it out there and wind it in. It has no action.
I think you got a picture of that here. Oh, other way.
Yeah, I think I might have seen it.
There you go.
Yeah. There was a picture. I think that was from the St. Lawrence. I've been to St. Clair a couple times and St. Lawrence once. It's just. I mean, you just take like a black hair jig and just throw it up there and wind it in. It has no action. It just kind of floats through the water. They like it. It looks like a leech.
Oops. All right, we'll go to the next one. All right.
All right, so these are two of my favorites.
Okay.
It's springtime. So we have the Coosa River where I'm from. We have the spotted bass, which we're famous for the Coosa River spotted bass. And they get big, 4 or 5 pounds, 6 pounds. And you don't see a whole lot of 6 pounders, but you see some 4s and an occasional 5, and the unicorn that's a 6. I'm not saying it's got to be here. You can go to Gunnersville and catch largemouth on them, but in the spring, the shatter spawning, the even pre-spawn, they like both of these. Post-spawn, when the shatter spawning, they really like any kind of top water. So the one on top is a head and spook or a Zara spook. It's kind of has a side to side, walk the dog kind of action, and then the bottom was just a zoom super fluke. It kind of does the same thing, just underneath the water. And hey, nowadays there's a million different varieties of everything, but those are two like tried and true, just old school. Hey, this is what you throw when the shatter spawn.
Heck yeah. All right, going on to the next. You ready for the next one?
Absolutely.
All right, here we are.
All right.
All right, there we go. Yep.
All right, so the one on the bottom's guys, this is just a spinnerbait. It's kind of like the jig. Like it's so versatile. I mean, you can throw a 3/8 up real shallow. You can take a 3/4 and you can throw it out real deep. It looks like a shad. It looks like a school of shad. Years ago, like the one at the top's a chatterbait. Either one of these you would put some kind of trailer on, whether it be some kind of paddle tail, swim bait, or split tail, or a kind of, you just put a curly tail grub on there. Like there's anything, give it a little action. But both do a great job. The chatterbait's in green pumpkin, but you could have it in white to imitate a shad.
Definitely sensing a theme here with the pumpkin.
Yeah. Look, one of the two things. You got to look like one of three things. You want to look like a shad, some kind of bluegill, or a crawfish.
Yeah.
It's just. One, like I said, we keep things pretty simple. Like, I know folks that will count the strands in their skirt to determine the rate of fall. But I just figure if it looks like a shad, it looks like a brim, or it looks like a crawfish, something about it.
Wow.
I don't get too particular with how many strands of orange my jig has in it, or strands of green pumpkin versus brown. Just, if he's gonna bite it, he's gonna bite it.
What do you think for you has helped you be successful to a degree with bass fishing? Just because how long you've been doing it? Do you feel like you've got a sense over the years, or what's helped?
Time on the water is hard to replace.
Sure.
And I say that to say that we've got some lakes that we've spent a lot of time at. That let's take Neely Henry. So on the Coosa River, you got Neely Henry is right above Logan Martin. Well, the things that we've learned and the knowledge we've gathered at Neely Henry over time has kind of sustained itself. And then Logan Martin in the last 5 or 6 years has really changed a lot. Um, I'm not sure why they started leaving the lake up a little farther, about 2 feet higher in the winter than they used to. And a lot of people have sank some brush, brush that used to not be there. So it's kind of moved the fish around. We just kind of lost touch. We haven't fished here that much at Logan Martin, but we've kind of lost touch. So I would say that the time on the water is as big of an advantage as there is.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just to see what's current. Like you can go and fish history, and you can go fish history and never get a bite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just things change. So.
All right, you done with these guys?
I think so.
All right, moving on. I think that's all for the lures.
Yeah. So that's a big spotted bass. So we caught it Lake Mitchell.
That is a hog.
Yeah, it was a 6 something. I can't remember what it was.
Wow.
Six. It was a high 6.
Boy, he's fat.
One of the bigger spotted bass that I've ever caught.
Yeah, I see why you call them the spotted bass. They've got that, and then they've got it down the midsection there.
They do, and they're normally their mouth is a little smaller. They actually have a tooth patch on their tongue that largemouth don't have.
Oh, okay. Keep migrating through some pictures. God, look at that guy.
Yeah, that's a big. I don't know what it weighed. We didn't have any scales, but that one came from. That was in Florida. Me and a friend of mine. We went down. We were fishing the team championship, the bass team championship. It was at the Harris chain, and we went down and fished at Headwaters Lake, which they had just opened it up to the public. So it was pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, that was. I don't know how big it was. Eight something. No, it was big. It was big.
And we got that one, and then we got some boat pictures here that you sent. Is that you guys out there going for them?
It is. That was at a Alabama Bass Trail. We were down at Lay Lake, and we were coming out of a pocket, and there was the camera boat was sitting over there, and he snapped a couple of pictures of us. So.
Nice, and there's the other one. Yeah. All right, what's going on in this one, and then we'll get to the questions.
Yeah, so that's a BFL. Pretty sure that was it. That was at Lay Lake a couple years ago in March. I think I ended up finishing 3rd or 4th, but that was just we got done weighing in at a BFL, and just I think I had to snap a screenshot and send it to Triton to get some of their contingency money. So I just had that in my camera reel.
Gotcha. All right. Well, you ready to get into the questions? We're getting close here. Usually takes us about 20, 30 minutes to get through these guys.
Absolutely.
And then we'll call it. Let's see here. And if you want me to try to Google anything or pull up pictures of something we're thinking about, let me know.
Okay.
All right. So let's see. Getting into the Q&A here. So I have a question from Steven here. He's asking how much of a factor is water temperature?
Depends on the time of the year,
okay.
But it's normally it's very contributing. We'll say,
Sure.
In the spring. Let's start at the first of the year.
Yeah.
As the water warms, fish come a little shallower depending on the water clarity. A lot of times, if the water is dirtier, it warms faster with the sun. So you'll get, if the water's dirty, the fish will be a little shallower. Once you get into that 58 to 65, the fish kind of they start wanting to go on the bed. That lasts until the water gets in the 75 or so at some point. When it gets around the high 60s, low 70s, the shad starts to spawn. So it does the water temperature really kind of in the spring determines a lot of what goes on based on what's spawning at what temperature.
Oh, okay. So spawn too. I was gonna say, or I was thinking too, like activity wise, are they less bass in particular? Are they less active in the cold,
They are.
or
They are. So they're cold blooded. So
okay.
so they require they require less when the water's cold. They require less energy, less everything to sustain what they got. Uh, so yeah. So when the water's really cold, let's say high 30s, low 40s. Typically, you're not going to get as many bites, but a lot of times the bigger fish will bite then.
Interesting.
So in the wintertime, and I say the bigger fish will bite, maybe they just weigh more then because they're not losing weight. Whatever they eat, their metabolism slow, so it's going straight to their gut, kind of like me these days. So a lot of times the fish that you weigh, say from December through March, will weigh more than the same fish that you would weigh after it spawns.
Interesting.
It's fattened up.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, water temperature is a huge deal, and I would say more so in the late winter, early spring than any other time. But here, like on the Coosa River here, I mean, if we don't get any rain, and I mean that it'll get in the 90s, like the surface temperature. I mean, it'll be in the low 90s, and in that July, August time, and cause the dog days of summer, it gets hard to catch them.
Wow. Yeah, I would have thought they'd be even more active, but I guess it makes sense, right?
Well, a lot of people don't know, but the water will turn over,
Hmm.
and so the oxygen level will go. What we call it the turnover, but it will go from being 15, 18, 20 feet deep, and at some point when the water gets hot and gets stagnant, it flips, and all the oxygen comes to the top,
Interesting.
and you'll see a lot of moss that's floating, a lot of algae that's died off or some kind of algae bloom. And when that happens, a lot of times the fish have gone really shallow. So it may be 90 degrees, but they may be 2 feet deep.
Wow. All right. Jumping to the next question we've got two from Stephen and two from Ethan today.
Okay.
So second one from Stephen is, how do you decide when to use top bait versus sinking bait? Like when things just aren't working, or
well, a lot of it is trial and error.
okay.
I tend to think that, especially to catch big ones, I think that right before the females go to spawn, I think their equilibrium gets kind of out of whack, and they got a lot of eggs, and I think that tilts them and makes them look up, and that's when they bite a lot of topwater. That's one of the reasons that the pre-spawn is really good for topwater, but a lot of it just has to do with they're getting the water temperature.
Yeah.
But a lot of it may just be trial and error. Like I said, if they're and the light condition would make a big difference if
okay.
Just in the day, you may catch them on a topwater first thing in the morning when the light's pretty low, and then as the sun comes up, you may have to go to some kind of subsurface.
Sure. Now, a lot of what you do is open water lake, big lake type stuff. It would probably change if you moved up into some of the tight tributaries and rivers, that kind of thing, right?
It does. So Alabama's pretty diverse. So the Coosa River is fairly tight. We have a lot of those tributary creeks and and little shallow pockets, and it's just overall it's pretty shallow. Whereas the Tennessee River is a little more river system, river ledge, and then you'll have the Smith Lake or Lake Martin that are a little more, clear Highland Reservoir type lakes. That's one of the reasons I think the fishermen that come out of Alabama are really good, because they have a pretty, they're pretty well rounded.
Sure.
If they've been able to compete here. So yeah, but for what we do on the Coosa River is relatively shallow, relatively, thick cover, and kind of, big rod, heavy line, kind of tight quarters kind of thing.
Gotcha. Let's do, I know I'm going to have to Google for this one. So one of Ethan's questions here is, I was going to get into it earlier when we were talking about lures and stuff. He says, what synthetic baits do you recommend for beginners, with the caveat that worms have brought only mild success to Ethan?
Okay.
So like, other than worms, like what would you recommend?
It depends on what you're fishing, but if you're in some kind of pond or something like that, I hate to go back to the worm, but the Senko is a big deal. Like that like Yamamoto Senko is especially in the springtime. There you go.
You're talking just one of those guys.
Look, that's a worm, and that's not what he's asking for. But if you're just a beginner and you're fishing around in a pond somewhere, like that's a big deal. But just for simple ease of use, that chatterbait, buzzbait, spinnerbait. Yeah. I mean, look, you put you some kind of, you take that, put some kind of little paddle tail. What's his second row, like the third one, kind of there in the middle? Yeah, put you some kind of little trailer on that thing. You kind of throw it out there, wind it in. You can snatch your rod or speed it up, slow it down. You kind of vary your retrieve a little bit, but it's still kind of a throw it out there, wind it in kind of bait.
Sure.
So that is the chatterbait, a spinnerbait, a buzzbait if it's morning or afternoon. Anything like that for a beginner is going to be. It's going to get you a bigger bite and catch bigger fish than I think you're catching on a worm.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. So the last question I've got here from Ethan is talking about beginners as well. Any advice for folks new to bass fishing who aren't sure where to start? And I'm sure he's talking about where to go, what time to go, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I mean, if I was just starting, I would find a pond somewhere and knock on a door and just ask the guy, say, hey, when I was a kid, I mean, we had 2 or 3 places it was just loaded with big ones. I mean, it was 4 and 5 pounders, pretty religiously. You go over and catch 5 or 6 in the afternoon, and it was just a knock on the door. Hey, do y'all mind if we go in here and make a few casts or fish for the afternoon? So any kind of little pond is a big deal. And then, if we're a true beginner and we're, don't have boats or don't have access to things, and then if you are somewhere that you can fish below a dam, there's a lot of fishing platforms and things like that they build right below the dam, where you have, really good access to. You may take a little different lure. You might not be able to take a buzz bait or chatterbait or something and throw out there in the current. You might have to go to one of the fluke or shad style baits or something with a little weight to get it down there. But those are both of those are good. Like I said, if you're new, hey, find a pond that's got some big ones in it. or find a dam and fish below the dam.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions I've got from people.
Yeah.
And man, I'm just super appreciative that you came on here with me.
Yeah, I'm glad to do it.
Yeah.
It's good to catch up.
Yes. Yeah. And it's super cool to kind of get a window into the competition side of fishing, because that's a world not a lot of people really know about.
Right.
So
Well,
very, very cool.
I think I told you before we got on air, I probably got better content than I have.
We'll bring them on. We'll do it.
So when you get ready, you let me know. I'll get you a couple guys that are a little bigger time than I am, and if nothing else, we need to get you back down here and shoot some ducks.
Yeah, that'd be a good time. It's been a long time. Yeah. And I was going to say too, with the podcast, like we can bring on, I can do up to three of us.
Okay.
So if you wanted a tag team, have another guy on here or something, because you'll have good questions too. Really, I mean, your stuff, so you'll know some really good ones to ask.
Yeah,
we'll be a good time.
We'll do that. We'll do that sometime.
Cool.
Get a couple of these guys on the hook. I'll get them on here and hold their feet to the fire.
Right. Heck yeah. Well, cool, man. Stay on. I'm gonna end the recording here, but I super appreciate it, and we'll definitely have to do this again. We'll see you later.
Sounds good. Thank you.